welcome back to another episode of Cracking the Success Vault. We are here with our presence, which is fantastic. We're really excited about this. Heather Grondin from the Windsor Bridge Authority, if I get that correct. You are the Chief Relations Officer. And as we were literally just talking about off camera, this project has literally been your entire working career.
It has been a big percentage of it, for sure.
So I'm really excited to talk about it. I only moved here in 2018 from Alberta. So when I moved here, obviously conversations were already being had and all that kind of stuff. But I heard you speak at the Windsor Transportation Highway Carrier Night, which is more of an education night for our trucking companies and transportation companies in general, logistics. But before we get really into the bridge and stuff like that, I want to hear a little bit about your story. So you mentioned born and raised here in Windsor.
Yeah.
And then you went to University of Windsor and then Niagara College. So walk us through a little bit about that journey, growing up, going to school, and then starting your first and only job.
Well, I've had others, but so I was born in Essex County and went to the University of Windsor and majored in communications. Really, I enjoyed communications from the very first class I took. I started as an English major and then switched to communications. I just found kind of the communications theory and, how much words matter to be so fascinating.
My wife tells me that all the time.
You see that? And sometimes, to me, communications has always been, it's almost like a puzzle to figure out, how you put words together to make the impact that you want to make. And I really just loved it. After getting my degree in communications, I then majored in women's studies at the university. And again, really a passionate area for me, advocating for women and looking to see how women can succeed in any environment that they're in. And then from that, went to Niagara College to get a postgraduate degree in public relations. So kind of putting the bow on all that I had learned from university and applying some practicality to the theory that I had learned. And that started me down really my working path. And I have been in government my entire career. So first working at the Lottery and Gaming Corporation when the racetrack and slots combination opened.
Okay.
And that was great. I worked at one of the consulates, the consulate in Buffalo, which was great government experience. And then finally moved to the federal government, working in Toronto for Public Works and Government Services, which is now PSPC. It has a different name because things change. And while I was working there, I saw a job posting back in Windsor. I'm, being from this area, I kind of always wanted to come back after having lived in Toronto for years and seeing traffic getting worse and worse. And everything that goes with living in Toronto. And I saw a job posting to work on the environmental assessment for a new bridge. And it really resonated with me as a person who grew up in the county. And, when I started going to university, I drove on Huron Church every single day. I drove along that traffic. I really understood the importance of a new transportation system, and I wanted to be part of it because I could understand the impact. Applied, got the job, and I've been here. That was in 2005. I've been here ever since trying to get this project
20 years.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And you've really basically seen this entire bridge, the Gordie Howe Bridge, go from start to finish, basically.
Yeah, I really have. I think it's a unique position that I've been able to be in. There's only really a handful of us who have been on this project for this length of time. So the very first phase that I was in was the binational environmental assessment, and that was for the bridge, the ports of entry, the Right Honorable Herb Gray Parkway, and then the connection to I-75. And that experience was just amazing. From a professional perspective, having the opportunity to undertake that much consultation and community outreach, it's really one of a kind and has impacted many of my decisions from a communicating perspective since then.
And so what did that role entail? What that you're saying, like going around to people and asking what they wanted to see, what did that entail?
Yeah, so, the environmental assessment for this project was really in depth. And what people might not remember is there were actually 15 different crossing options that were first investigated, all kind of within this area. But, an assessment needed to be done on which was going to be the right option. And then with each of those crossing options, there were different permutations of the connecting ports of entry, and then different road connections from Highway 401 to the Michigan interstate system. So a really important part of that consultation was assessing the constructability, assessing the impact on built resources, assessing the impact on the environment, on air quality, on noise pollution. And so the consultation was with the public, with stakeholders, with businesses to get their impact and their input every single step of the way.
Right. So are you saying, so from like, I don't know, I guess Tecumseh through Amherstburg, there was 15 different locations kind of along that small stretch of land mass?
Yes, yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's really crazy. And it does go to, again, because so much time has passed, I think it's difficult for people to really remember or reconcile all of that work that went into determining where the bridge is currently located.
Right.
Again, like from noise assessments to air quality assessments to, the really critical foundation investigations because of historic salt mining in the area. So then my fun job was to go out and talk about it and get people's impact. And, I think another thing that people don't really remember is sometimes this project was really contentious. I mean, we did have people who, because they didn't have the full picture and we didn't have the full picture either, but people had concerns and we needed to respond to those.
And I think the community will always, you're never going to win everybody over. Right. I kind of relate it to the hospital that's currently going on right now. Right. Some people want it. Some people don't want it. Some people want to spend the money. Other people don't want to spend the money. You're never going to win. But at the same time, society has to continue to grow, right? We have to be able to expand. We have to be able to service more people, whether that's construction, whether that's a hospital and healthcare, whether that's education, whether that's a rail system or a new bridge.
Yeah.
Right? And so what do you think are some of the main deciding factors about where the bridge is located? I'm assuming the 401, being that it basically just kept going down. But what other kind of really deciding factors kind of put it there?
Yeah, so definitely the highway connection was a really important determining factor. That related to land use and maintaining existing land use, kind of continuing on that extension leading to the new bridge. Another really important consideration, and this was something that we heard a lot from the Sandwich community. Sandwich residents were very concerned about the concept of being, really wedged in between two bridges. So we have the existing Ambassador Bridge, and if the location of this new bridge would have been too close to that, it really would have almost strangled that community. Right. So bumping the location of the bridge out a little bit more west was really important in that consideration. Another important consideration as related to both the extension of Highway 401 and the port of entry on the Canadian side is making sure that we weren't overly impacting the natural heritage area and the environmental area. So as you know, we have Ojibwe Nature Complex right next door. It's a very heavily populated area for both plant and animal species at risk. And that was a huge consideration of ours. How do we make sure that we are configuring the port of entry, configuring the highway connection, so we're limiting impact on that as much as we possibly can. And then it's an international crossing. So we can't have a location on the Canadian side that doesn't connect to a location on the U.S. side. So those same considerations had to go into place on the U.S. side, and then ultimately it had to connect.
Right.
So, and everything had to line up, which is, again, why this was, and a really interesting aspect, it was a binational environmental assessment and so much collaboration between Ontario, Michigan, Canada, the U.S. to get it done.
Right. Yeah, it's super intriguing, and seeing it built is amazing. It's really cool how you can see from the golf course, you can see from downtown, you can see it driving into the city on the 401. It's amazing.
It is.
And so before we come back to the bridge a little bit more, let's talk about the communications role. Did you always know that this was something that you wanted to do?
Yeah, I think, when I finished my my post-secondary education, I kind of had given myself the leeway to change jobs a lot. I had told myself, communications is a huge field, and I didn't want to stay at any one place for really more than a year because I wanted to see what was out there.
Sure.
And I kind of did follow that for a little bit until I started working with the federal government in Toronto. I was at that job for about 5 years and then took on this job. And quite frankly, I was only planning to be working on this project for 1 year.
Right.
I wanted to get, that consultation and community experience that I wasn't really getting at my job before then, just to become more of a well-rounded communicator and a more well-rounded communications professional. That 1 year plan didn't work. This was the one that I've now been sticking with for 20 years. But communications really is a diverse job. There's the media relations aspect of it. There's government relations, community relations, stakeholder relations, working closely with elected officials.
Yeah.
Then there's marketing and there's going to be customer engagement as we move toward opening the bridge. So it's a very broad field.
Right.
And then it's also changed so radically over the last
multiple
20 years.
Governments, multiple stakeholders, all that.
Yeah, even things as simple as, in my earliest days working on this project, so 20 years ago, I would get the newspaper every day and flip through the Windsor Star to see, what issues do we have? Is there any coverage related to the project that I need to be ready to respond to? Well, now I just get a message on my phone every time an article is published, and I know right away, please. Right? And I the advent of social media changed how I do my job. Having to invest time in a website or invest time in, think about COVID, how COVID radically changed how we engage with the public.
Absolutely.
It went from doing always in-person meetings to having that new flexibility to be able to arrange a Teams call.
Right.
And gave us the opportunity to reach so many more people.
Yeah. Speed up the process of having meetings because we didn't have to be in one space in person.
Exactly.
Take it from wherever.
Exactly. So again, with all of those changes, it does impact how we deliver communications, how we deliver consultation, how we continue to grow and manage our relationships. And that's been an interesting aspect. It does keep the field on its toes.
Right. And so what about communications, I guess, communicating?
Yep.
Intrigued you in the beginning to even take such a course? I mean, I know lots of people take the course. It's not like you're the only one.
Yeah.
Was it something that, growing up, was it your parents had really good communicating? Was it not good communicating that you wanted to be a good communicator? Like, how did you make that decision to get into something like a role so kind of specific?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to lie. I really love the idea that I could watch movies and get a degree. So, as a big fan of movies, I thought that was pretty cool that I could take like classes about film or watch a movie and then write a paper as that. Using the movie as an example of, propaganda or a reflection of society at the time. So I thought that was super, like, just what a fun way to get a degree. Who doesn't like sitting and watching a movie, right?
Yeah.
So that was, I'm not going to say that was my full motivator, but I thought that was a pretty cool aspect of communications. And then looking at it, I found communications theory, just fascinating. And, when I went to university, again, this is, in the 90s, there were kind of two paths you could take. You could take more of the communications theory side of the house, or you would take more of the production side of the house. So people who would be, maybe writing a script or being a journalist or being, working on radio.
Right.
But I like the theory side of things. Like I said, it was like a puzzle. It was, how do you piece things together? Right. I've always enjoyed writing, throughout grade school, high school, moving into university, I've been a good writer. Yeah. Enjoyed doing that, having that skill. Yeah. I love grammar. Like I read grammar books for fun. So, some people think it's a sickness, but that to me is all part of the puzzle and part of piecing together the words. So I think it was a bit of an aptitude, but then also the interest in the theory.
Right. And so I love what you said about giving yourself a bit of a leeway after university with some jobs and stuff like that, because I think a lot of people, a lot of students, a lot of, call it young adults, don't give themselves enough, I'll call it life experience, to really know what they want to do.
Yeah.
Right? They're either pigeonholed in a job that they don't love, but they're making money and they own a home, and now they're like, well, I don't have the ability to go risk something and do something different. So was that something your parents told you to do? Is that something you just felt you needed to do? How did you decide to give yourself a bit of a leeway, and did you choose that specific time frame for a reason?
Yeah, I wasn't told to do that. I was certainly supported in kind of doing that and kind of feeling my way in my post-secondary world, I guess post-secondary world. But to me, it just made sense. It is the time, I didn't have a house. Like it's the opportunity when you don't feel handcuffed to certain responsibilities to go out and explore. I think part of my motivation was having, been born and raised in Windsor-Essex, going to the University of Windsor. And even though I did go to school to go to Niagara College, I just wanted to explore a little bit more and see what else was out there. And that helped me to do that. Yeah. And I guess I just kind of took it on myself to say, just take the time.
Yeah. And again, I think it comes a lot from life experience. The exploration, is that something that you're really fortunate that your parents just allowed you to just kind of, no real pressure, just go kind of explore, see what's out there, see what you love, see what you don't love, make some decisions, fail a little bit? Yeah,
for sure. And I'm the baby of the family, so I think that probably also helped. So, babies of the family always, come on. We always have more leeway. And,
I would agree.
Right? And, just tie your shoes and everyone thinks it's a big deal. So I think there was, kind of that, the encouragement of, go out there, see what's out there. My family's would always be supportive if I had made a wrong decision or I was less comfortable with a place that I would have been. Of course, they were going to be supportive of me to help get me to where I need to be. Right. So I've always had, a really great safety net and always have felt very supportive. Yeah, no,
that's amazing. So let's come back to the bridge a little bit then.
Okay.
Now that it's done, are there plans of expanding the businesses around the area, that kind of stuff, for the community on both sides?
Yeah, so I think this is where we're starting to look at, the cities, the organizations, the associations around us who really have that expertise. So if I'm thinking about the tourism associations,
Invest Windsor-Essex, that kind of stuff.
Essex, exactly. The economic development associations, and we're here to support. If they're out doing familiarization tours or wanting to pitch attraction to the region, and they need information about the Gordie Howe International Bridge, we are happy to give that information. Right. We want this bridge to be a catalyst for that regional investment, to bring businesses, to bring people to the area. But we also know that that's not our area of expertise. Correct. We need the people who are the experts in that to really take it and run with it. And I'm more than happy to give information about the bridge to help those efforts come to bear. Right. But it's a great opportunity. What a great sales pitch, right? Yeah,
100%. And so explain a little bit more about the bridge itself. So you gave us unfortunately, you don't have diagrams today, but at the highway carrier night there, you got to show a diagram of both sides, what it's going to look like, the flow. So, how many lanes are there going to be? Sure. How many people do we think it's going to be able to service? How much pressure do you think it's going to take off of things like Huron Church and all that kind of stuff? What is the bridge going to do in that instance?
Perfect. So the bridge itself, Gordie Howe International Bridge, it is from end to end, basically from port of entry to port of entry, 2.5 kilometers. The span over the river itself is about 853 meters, and that makes it the longest main span of any cable-stay bridge in North America and the 10th longest in the world. So just having something so record-breaking is super cool to have in the region. The bridge itself is going to have 6 lanes, and normally 3 in each direction, but a really, really cool aspect of this bridge is through dynamic overhead signage. Right. We can change the direction of traffic flow. So if it's a really busy day coming into Canada, we can change it so that there's 4 lanes coming into Canada and 2 going into the U.S., for example. That's going to be a game changer for traffic management.
Yeah.
Another really cool aspect of the bridge is the multi-use path. And what I love about the multi-use path is that it was completely community driven. It was not in our original designs. So 2015, 2016, when we were out doing consultation, over and over again from the communities on both sides is please include a multi-use path. You only have one chance to get this bridge built. Please include one. Even if there's nowhere to go now, there will be in the future.
Right.
And that, after consultation with the border agencies, we were able to include that. Right. And that's a great tourism opportunity right there. Moving out a little bit more from the bridge are our two ports of entry. These are the largest land ports along the Canada-U.S. border. So the U.S. port is 167 acres, over 330,000 square feet of building space. Canadian port, about 130 acres and 130,000 square feet of building space. All of the border agents will be there. And at the U.S. side, we actually have 4 agencies that will be located. Canadian side, 2 agencies that will be located there. So from a truck perspective or even from a passenger perspective, any inspection that needs to take place will take place right there within the ports of entry.
Okay.
No more moving to any other spaces or having to call people in to take a look at what you have. There will be people located there to fully inspect as needed.
So when you say 4 on the American side, 2, what are...
On the Canadian side, it's Canada Border Services Agency and Canadian Food Inspection Agency.
Okay.
On the U.S. side, it's U.S. Custom Border Protection, U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the Department of Agriculture, and I always forget the 4th one. It's another
organization of goods passing back and forth across the border.
Exactly.
And so that's going to help transportation, trucking, stuff like that, speed up the process from not having to go somewhere else, obviously.
Exactly. Exactly. The one component I haven't talked about, well, there's a couple, but tolling. So all tolling will take place on the Canadian side. So whether you're inbound or outbound, tolling will take place at the Canadian port of entry.
Which I think is really important to notice because even the night we had heavy construction night there, someone asked the question of who paid for the entire bridge.
That's right.
Right, and we did.
Yes,
right? The Canadians paid for the whole thing
Canada
on both sides.
It's exactly right. Canada financed the entirety of the project. So all toll revenue will go back to the government of Canada. Yeah. And what's great about our toll booths, a couple of things. We will be taking cash, credit, debit, Google Pay. We'll also have a dedicated RFID tag where people can set up accounts. In our toll lanes, where people have, we will have lanes dedicated for people who just have the transponders. We expect that we'll be able to move 400 vehicles per hour if they are enabled with a transponder. Right. And we've been doing that testing right now. I've been seeing it working, and vehicles haven't even had to come to a complete stop. They basically roll in. Slowly roll in. The RFID tag is read, the arm goes up, and they're able to go on the way without even going to a full stop. So it's really cool right now to start seeing through our testing and commissioning, seeing this stuff in action.
That's great because when I moved here, I love taking the tunnel, especially if I'm going downtown, except for hockey games, baseball games, it's a nightmare. That bridge is a little too far out of the way for those kinds of things, but Nexpress is great. I mean, it's just tagged to my car and I have to come to a stop, but like literally the moment I come to a stop, the arm goes up and I'm done, right? Yeah. And so I know with that program, there's a discount for people who buy the Nexpress versus paying at the toll. Is it the same thing on the Gordie Howe?
Yeah, we'll be having a discount for our account for our account holders as well.
Okay, good. I'm sure people are going to love that. And so in this communications role, what are some of the things that you think I would say that the biggest challenges that you have had to sort of deal with in operating with the relations between the public, the private, the governments on both sides, changing governments over the years, as a relations officer, chief relations officer, that's the right title.
That's the right one.
What are some of the biggest challenges that you face that you maybe could give other relations or communications majors and stuff like that some advice on how to deal with those kinds of things?
Sure. A couple of things come to mind on that. One, media relations has been an incredibly important aspect of this project. And I think it's always important to treat media like a partner in the delivery of your message and work very closely and be very responsive to the people in the media that you work with. And again, that has changed over time. There aren't as many dedicated reporters on certain topics anymore like they were in the early days. But because this project has been very high profile, sometimes contentious, sometimes just with really good news to share, being very open and available to do interviews, to respond to people's questions in the media has been helpful to us in many ways. I think those strong relationships have helped us when maybe we don't have as good of news to share, but also how it's helped us draw attention when we do have really positive information to share. And then that has also then helped us engaging with the community and sharing information with the community, for people to hear us on, AM 800 or see an article in the Windsor Star or an interview on CTV. That's been a great way for us to get information out. So I would, to anyone in the communications world, if anyone's working on a major project like this, I would tell them to, really think about how they're going to engage with the media and consider that carefully and make time. Make time for those interviews, make time to engage with reporters. It's a great way to get your messages out.
Yeah, I mean it's customer service, right? At the same time, you just have to focus on who is your customer, and for that aspect, media, right? Yeah, exactly. I always tell people, most people don't care about how much you know until they know about how much you care.
Yeah,
right.
I like
because
that, yep.
if you don't care and they can tell you don't care, there's no getting around that, right? Yeah. And so having that really good relationship, whether it's individual clients, corporate clients, media clients, government, whatever it is, people have to know that you're there for more than just, money or fame or whatever, right? Exactly. Okay. So what kind of advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh my goodness.
Knowing the things that you know now, being in the role that you're in now.
Well, one, I'd probably say take more vacation time.
We all can do that.
Right? We can all do that. And I would probably say, you have a voice and a perspective, and it's valuable and valid, and, don't be shy to express it. I think that's something that it took me more years into my career to really kind of grasp that. And, really
why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's, a couple of things. I think it's having the confidence in your opinion, or for me to have the confidence that saying, even if I oppose what's being talked about around the table, is my opposition valid?
Right.
And I think, and I will say, especially working on major construction projects, many times I've been the only woman in the room. Right. And in the early days of my career, often the youngest person in the room as well. Yeah. So it could be very intimidating to kind of sit there and go, I don't think you're right. But finding that confidence. So I would definitely tell the younger version of myself, like, you have that strength. Right. You are right a lot.
I was going to say, and so it's good to hear people be like, I'm right all the time. What gave you that confidence? Is it just spending more time doing your job? Is it analyzing your numbers, analyzing the report? Like, what gave you the confidence in a certain point of time to be like, no, I think I am right, and I am going to say something because something needs to change? Yeah,
I think it's two main things I can think about are definitely having more experience and, just spending more time in the role. But I've also had some really great bosses who have entrusted me to make decisions, who have, encouraged me or have given me positive reinforcement that could then give me that confidence or that courage. And I've taken that and I have tried to do that with people who report to me and kind of pass that on. I think a bit of a combination of experience plus having good bosses who have who have encouraged me to do that, to kind of give me that positive reinforcement.
Encourage you to speak up a little bit.
Exactly.
Even if you might be wrong, it might spur something.
Right.
Which is, I like the fact that you say that, because I literally just did a podcast the other day, and the gentleman was like, I wish the advice I would have given to my younger self is not to, hold the thing that I created as my own, because someone else could build on it, right? So you may be wrong in your thinking or the outcome,
right?
But that doesn't mean that someone can't take that and say, well, wait a second, it might not be the right outcome, but if we change this, maybe it would be the right outcome, right? So even speaking up when we may not be right allows other people to build on the ideas of the thing that we're talking about.
Exactly.
Neat. Okay. So obviously, Chief Relations Officer is not the only role you've had the entire time. So you did the environmental study in the beginning.
Yep.
What other roles within the first few years up until when did you become the Chief Relations Officer? Because you didn't go to the Bridge Authority till 2015. So that's
right.
a 10-year period working for government, but Bridge, but lots of different roles, I'm assuming.
Well, it's really all been basically communications. Okay. So when I started with the Ontario Ministry of Transportation in 2005, I was a senior issues advisor.
Okay.
So that's still communications. Writing a lot of briefing notes, writing a lot of documentation, things like that. And then after about 2 years, I shifted to the senior manager of communications and issues management, still with MTO, still working on the project. And then I held that role until I moved to Windsor-Detroit Bridge Authority. And then I will say my title has changed quite a few times at Windsor-Detroit Bridge Authority. I started as the Vice President of Communications and Stakeholder Relations. And then at one point I was the Vice President of Communications, Stakeholder Relations and Policy. Then I was the Vice President of Communications of Corporate Affairs, External Relations, and then the Chief Relations Officer. The title has just changed a lot because the organization has evolved over time. Right. But the job has somewhat stayed the same, with additional responsibilities being added as I've gone along.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm assuming some of those are good, some of those are bad.
Oh yeah, no, they're all good. One aspect that was added to my job was policy and government relations that had been previously divided up in other areas of the organization. But it made a lot of sense to merge it in with my team because, government relations is an extension of so many aspects of communications and overall relationship management. So at some points it was just making sense to merge and piece things together. Right now we're doing a lot of preparatory work on business development and market outreach. And so again, it's really an extension or an evolution of the stakeholder community communications work that we're already doing now during the construction phase. So especially this last 10 years with Windsor-Detroit Bridge Authority, has been a lot about the evolution of the project and the evolution of the Crown Corporation.
Right. And so I would assume then that the period between university and getting the job in 2005, going between different organizations, Buffalo, coming back, I would assume that you're going to answer the answer to my question is yes, but all of the little intricate things that you did and the different roles that you had in that time frame have really helped in this role, being the fact that it is, two different countries. It is lots of different things that you're bringing experience from all of those different little roles you had in time frames to this one role.
Oh, definitely. When my job working at the consulate in Buffalo gave me a really good understanding of Canada-U.S. relationships, how, the two sides really do communicate differently. You engage with the audiences differently. It is just, one little border, but it does make a difference with how you engage.
Canadians and Americans are different.
We're different, right? When I worked for the Lottery and Gaming Corporation, my focus was on marketing and customer service and customer engagement. So that's focusing really well in this. When I was with Public Works and Government Services, a lot of it was about procurement, construction, overall, integrating new projects. So that's been incredibly valuable through the P3 or the public-private partnership aspect of this project. And then, the work that I did in the earlier phases of this project, the environmental assessment, and then the Parkway project, that has really given me the basis of so many relationships that I've been able to carry through during this phase, working with Indigenous peoples in the area, again, getting to know the media very well, getting to know specific stakeholder groups, building relationships with elected officials. All of that has transitioned, and that I've been able to build up those relationships to where we're at right now.
Right. Yeah, and it's interesting because I always tell people, and I even tell my clients, you'll never know like how things are going to sort of connect, but now that we're here, you can actually look back and be like, if I didn't have this wouldn't have happened, and you can connect the dots backwards.
I really agree.
And you just kind of have to like have that kind of faith that I'm making the right decision, whether it's a good one or a bad one, or I fail or I succeed, that somewhere down the path, it's going to all connect at some point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
And so is government and is this all you've ever wanted to do? Did you figure that you were going to get into the government sector and just stay?
No. I'm going to say no. I think, I didn't really consider it that much if that was, where I was going to head or stay. But once I got into government, specifically when I was working with the federal government in Toronto, I was working for a department. I really found then that I aligned well with a public sector mentality. Okay. And that spoke to me, the idea of, kind of contributing broader to the country, kind of contributing to the betterment of the community. So kind of, I think there are some people who excel in the public sector, and probably others that really is not what's going to work best for them. For me, public sector has really been, I think, where I was going to succeed.
Right.
That doesn't mean that I'm always going to stay. I think at some point I need to tap back into
the bridge will be done soon, right?
That's right. I have to tap back into 25-year-old Heather, and who had that courage to look back and say, okay, I'm leaving this job after a year and try new things, right?
What do you think you would try in the future?
I don't know. I get asked a lot, like, what am I going to do when the bridge is done?
I don't doubt it.
And my answer to that is always, I'm going to take a really long nap.
I don't doubt that either.
Yeah, and then really kind of see what else is out there.
Right.
Is it another major project? Is it continuing on to help with the marketing and the outreach component of the bridge, or is it something just radically different where I can pull this knowledge? I think anyone who's worked on the Gordie Howe International Bridge, or even like the Herb Gray Parkway before that, I feel like it's been in many ways 5 jobs in one. Just amazing experience that has so many different applications.
Right.
I'm kind of excited to see what some of those applications will be.
Right. Yeah. And again, we're not going to know until they kind of come up, and we'll be able to put them in use.
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay. And so you, family-wise, you have kids?
Yeah.
And they've basically watched you go through this entire process then?
They have. So I have a 17-year-old and a 21-year-old, and, the Parkway was always just kind of known as Mummy's project. Like, it didn't even really, they didn't recognize it by the name.
Yeah.
I will say when my kids were young, they were in a lot of some of the videos, or if we needed a kid, I was always like, I've got one.
I got one right here.
Here you go. So they've had an opportunity to be kind of part of the project. Yeah. And I mean,
are they going to follow in your footsteps?
No.
No. They see how hard you work and they don't want to, or
I think the pandemic and people working from home probably gave kids too much insight into work.
I guess, right.
But no, they're not looking at communications. They're more attracted to skilled trades and and following that path, which is great.
Yeah. Always need those.
You always need those. And I say, follow whatever speaks to you, just like I followed the path that spoke most to me.
Right.
But then have that flexibility in mind to, if you want to change path, change path.
Right. What do you think gives you that, I guess, confidence to just be like, you know what, I'm going to change path if I feel like it?
You know what? I'm not sure. I would say it's probably more of, even though I've been working on this project for 20 years, I don't really dig on the concept of being overly committed, being like committed. Like I'm committed to my job, but having that commitment where I'm feeling like tied down.
Right.
I think it's nice to have in your mindset the luxury of freedom.
Right.
And that's what I would recommend to really anyone, especially people coming out of school. Give yourselves the luxury of freedom.
Right.
Like it's a good thing to have.
And when you say luxury of freedom, are you talking like freedom to choose other things? Or are you talking freedom, not some people can take that in a weird way,
of course.
Not working hard enough. Like what do you mean when you say that?
Yeah, no, I would say have the freedom give yourself the freedom of choice. Like, like the freedom to, be honest with yourself and saying either I'm loving this job, I'm loving where I'm at, I'm going to stay here, or I'm ready for recognizing
time to move on
in yourself. Yeah, when it might be time to move on, or really like you're going to be as successful as the effort that you're going to put in.
Right.
Freedom in terms of, like you said, like doing maybe not working as hard. I don't know. I'm a really hard worker. I am, I get the job done. I push.
I mean, it obviously, and it seems to me like you absolutely love what you do.
I do.
You might, and I'm the same way. My wife hates it. Doesn't hate it.
Yeah.
I have a hard time. I always tell people lately. So I have a 6-month-old at home.
Okay.
Not sleeping right now.
No.
It gets crazy. But I always tell people, and I have a hard time with this because I absolutely love what I do, but I also absolutely love my family too.
Yeah.
And it's a very hard thing when I'm at the office and I'm, grinding away and big things are happening and we're launching new things or we're doing some new cool projects. I'm so immersed in it and it doesn't feel like work to me that I have to really be like, okay, you know what? I have to go home. That's important to me as well. And I love being there too. Yeah. And it's this hard thing because I'm part owner in this organization, but I'm also, my son has his father and I should be there to see him grow up. And I have this really hard thing where I love working, but I always say, I always wanted to kind of build a life I didn't need to take a vacation from, right? Cool. I just enjoy it. Every day is different. Every day's fun. Sometimes we're talking with clients. Sometimes we're doing marketing projects, which I can only stand so much of.
Yeah.
But everything is just so different, right?
Yeah, and I think a couple of things on that. First of all, I don't think the concept of work-life balance exists. I don't think
I would agree.
Is a balance. I think you try to find integration. Right. I like the phrase work-life integration because, you can't shut one off. We're not in severance.
Correct.
You can't shut it off when you leave the office, and you can't turn off your personal life when you get to work.
Right.
So you have to find a way where the two can coexist. And then I would also say, I've been able to be successful because I have a very supportive husband who, has understood when I have to be at a community meeting until 9:00. I was at the transportation club until 9:30. Or I remember sometimes in the early days when my son was really young, my husband would bring him to the community meeting so I could say goodnight to him.
Oh, cute.
So having that, again, kind of like I was talking earlier, my family has always been a great support system. Yeah. I think to be successful, you need to continue to have that support system, no matter what it is, whether it's a spouse or if it's, again, family members or a great friend network, people who you can call and complain to just to kind of get it off your chest. Having and building that support system, I think, is what can help people be successful in their careers.
Right. And so a lot of people then would learn some of those things from a mentor maybe. Have you had any of those in the communications relations type role? I mean, it's not very similar to me. Like being an entrepreneur and being self-employed, and I have, kind of mentors that taught me the business. I've got mentors that taught me other things, and I'm in contact with some of them still, and some of them I don't talk to anymore.
Yeah.
Right. But in your field, it's very different than mine. So, in that field, has there always been certain people that you can kind of lean on that have taught you things?
Yeah, I have. I've had, I had a really, influential boss when I worked in the federal government when I was in Toronto, who, really kind of helped me understand, and again, had gave me like my first manager's job, which was great. Again, someone who saw, potential in me and trusted me with an important job, and, really did give some great advice about like, don't sweat this and don't worry about that. Like, you can get, it can be a really high pressure job. So being able to see someone who could say to you, like, no, like that looks good. That's a great approach. Or don't worry if you blew that media interview, it's okay. So there's been that support. And then I'll say, I've had other bosses, maybe not in the communications field, who again have been just really, inspiring, and people who I have been able to kind of model my own leadership over. And again, I think because this project is very high profile, being able to see people, kind of perform well under pressure and how they've done that. Yeah. Those are examples of kind of things that I've taken from mentors or people who I've really admired and worked that into my own either leadership style or the way that I communicate.
Right. And have any of those people given you any kind of, I would say, advice that you took to heart that really changed the way you did something that someone else could learn from?
I can't think of maybe specific words of advice. Right. I think it's been more behavior that I've have seen consistently. Support that I've felt, how I've seen them, interact with other people, that I've been able to observe and then integrate, or, again, seeing as a person who has a leadership role kind of separate from my communications life, really seeing how their other leaders interact with people and the impact of that, whether it's good or bad, has impacted my leadership style. And I take a lot of pride in being a leader and always want to do that the best that I can possibly do.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I follow a lot of Simon Sinek stuff. And so a lot of that, like leaders eat last, put other people first. Yeah. You can't be the person, there's like a little, whatever, those little memes where it's like there's the leader on the chair that's whipping people, or there's the leader that's pulling the chair with the people. Yeah. I think, but those kinds of things have to be sort of observed, learned. They can't just be like, oh, okay, I think today I'm going to be a leader. You have to what does that look like? Yeah. Who is doing it? Who can I model after?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. People, and, this gets said a lot, people are promoted often based on their work and their skills, not necessarily on their ability to be a manager. And time does have to be taken to help people learn how to be a manager, or ensure that people have someone that they can look toward and reflect in what their management style is going to be. And I do think individuals need to find their management style. Not everything's going to work for everyone. So what's going to work for you and what's going to work for the people that you have? I'm not the same manager to, I have 18 people that report to me. I'm not the same manager to every single person. People need something different from me, and I have to take the time to be responsive to that.
And how do you take the time to, obviously you have to get to know them as a person. That's obviously not done overnight. No. And so what kind of advice would you give, people who might hear this podcast when it comes to every single person has to be treated differently in the sense of they need something different in order to get their job done or get their role or feel confident in what they're doing. There's lots of people who they need that person that's going to put lots of pressure on them. Other people need, a little bit more kind of a soft approach and don't worry, you're doing fine, just keep going. how have you found it to sort of decide which people get what treatment?
A couple of things. I think I've tried to have open conversations, and that, again, you can only be as open as the trust that you've built. Right. But, working on building that trust and then creating an environment where you can have an open conversation where I can say, what more do you need from me? What less do you need from me? Am I too much in your business? Am I not giving you as much attention as you need? And observing is part of that too. You do need to have awareness as a leader and kind of take that time where even if people don't really know that you're watching,
let them know that you're watching,
right? Or pick up on cues, pick up on words and how people are saying. If I'm seeing someone struggling, taking that time, and again, people need time. As a leader, yes, I would love to be writing a communications plan or working on messaging or doing whatever, but as a leader, you have to carve out that time to be present and really, really engage. Mm-hmm. It's not that different than what I do externally with stakeholders and members of the public, but it's applying it inside. Right. And then when it comes to building that trust, my approach has always been, I don't intend to ask anyone to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. Right. Although usually my team is like, get out of my way. Like, we want to plan this event without you messing everything up. But you are not good at setting up an easel. Get out of here. Yeah. But just really integrating yourself into the environment.
Right. Yeah. No, I can understand. I can follow all of that for sure.
Yeah. At least that's what I hope that I do. I don't know. Yeah. That's my intention anyway.
Well, I'm assuming that those 18 people have been with you for some time, at least most of them.
Most of them have.
Right. So obviously doing something right. Yeah. So let's jump back to the bridge a little bit. Sure. When do you think people can expect it to be open?
Yeah. So
that's a question that everybody asks.
Yeah, that's my number one question that I get. Early 2026. Okay. What does early mean? It really depends on a lot of things being put in place. Construction's great. The construction's wrapping up. But what's so critical to us right now is making sure everything works. Yeah. So testing, we've been testing the toll booth since June, July, making sure every aspect, the overhead signs make sense. The boom goes up as it's supposed to go up. The payment mechanism works 100% of the time. The toll booth operators have training and that they're able to work. The emergency call button works. Yeah. So just think about that spread along the entirety of the ports of entry and the bridge itself. And that's really going to ultimately be what's going to be the driving factor is everything working well, us having confidence in the successful operations, and then we'll be in a position to open.
Right. Can't live with technology. We can't live without it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then once it is open, is it just full boat open, or is it soft opening? Is it going to be a few lanes at a time? Or are we just going straight to all lanes open, let's go? Or how's that going to work?
Yeah, we'll be going pretty much to full on open. Okay. I know we've received that question a couple of times, like, will you take trucks only? Will you take cars only? We only have partial lanes open. But really from a management perspective, first of all, how do you limit what vehicles use the bridge and don't use the bridge? And, once you're open, once you have the border agencies on site working, there's no point in limiting. They're there and ready to take the traffic as it comes.
Right. Okay. Interesting. All right. Is there anything else about the bridge that you want to talk about?
I could talk about the bridge for hours.
I don't doubt it.
Hours.
20 years of your life, I'm sure you can talk about lots of it.
One thing I'll speak to that we haven't really touched on is, the bridge is all about moving people and goods. A really important aspect of this project has been that community relations piece. And, through our community benefits plan, through doing local road improvements, like the improvements that we've done on Sandwich Street. Yeah. We just did an announcement earlier about an investment in the Lifeline project, which is about safety along the Detroit River. Yeah. To me, that's been such a great outcome of the $6.4 billion infrastructure project is being able to leverage it to benefit our host communities
Right.
and being a good neighbor. And I'm really proud that that's an aspect of the project that my team has led and has given us the ability to meet so many fascinating people and learn about such fascinating programs that, quite frankly, I never would have had access to.
Right.
People and their commitment to making this region a better place. That has been a real inspiration to me and something that I will take from this project that's been just incredibly meaningful to me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can tell you were getting a little,
Yeah.
you're getting a little emotional about it.
Yeah, no, it's been a great
I cry on camera too, so it's fine. Okay, and then I think we talked a little bit about it. There is a path as well for just walkers, cyclists, etc. And it goes on the full length, but people are still going to be required to have their passports and IDs and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Right. They're still crossing an international boundary. Right. There are dedicated processing areas, so no one will have to interact with vehicular traffic. Cool. So really well thought out, really well planned. Yeah. But yeah, if you're walking or cycling across, you'll just have to show your ID at a processing center on the other side, and then be able to connect.
And I know that there's two. I won't ask you the other question.
Okay.
There was two questions that were asked at the Highway Carrier Night. One being, what about those people that aren't going to walk the full length of the bridge? Yep. They just want to maybe walk halfway, take a picture, come back. That's going to be okay for them to do. How's that kind of coming into the thought process? Because that's a long way to walk. Then you got to double it to come back.
It is. You know, the intention is that people complete their entire journey.
Got it.
Regardless, you have to come back through customs as you come through, so it's not like you're skipping that step. But the intention is that you kind of complete the journey at least from one entrance point to the next the point, then come back around.
Right. So people should be expecting that it's a 2.8 kilometer walk one way and a 2.8 kilometer walk back.
Yeah. Plus, they have to get to their car wherever their car is parked. So.
Right. A little farther, even that too. Yeah. Well, listen, I really appreciate your time today.
It's been great.
It's been a really fun conversation. I'm sure we could talk a lot more about what's going on, but what sort of next for the bridge besides opening after it's open? And then I get to ask you our final question.
Okay, sure. So, well, let's get to opening. Let's get to the party. I get asked a lot about the party. So we're underway on planning the festivities to mark this major milestone of a new international bridge. And then, it's really starting to fulfill, our mandate, my organization's mandate of operating a new international crossing and moving people and trade efficiently. Right. That's why this is what we've been working toward for 25 years is moving that traffic efficiently. And it will be great to get people's feedback as we do that. And, I'm sure there'll be some complaints. I'm sure there's going to be some issues. Yeah, always is. We can address those as we go.
Yeah. Right. And so this party you're talking about, is this a party that people can show up to sort of see a ribbon cutting? Like, what's this party going to be like?
Yeah, so we're still working through those details. We definitely want to include a community aspect of the event because the community has played such a critical role throughout the delivery of the project. So still kind of fine-tuning, getting to that point, looking at the feasibility. Weather will be a consideration. Safety and security, of course, will be a consideration. But there'll be more coming in the new year about
so people should just stay tuned for all of it.
Exactly.
Fair enough. Okay. Final question. Okay. We asked this of all of our guests. I didn't prepare you for it.
Okay.
And I say this to everybody because everybody seems to be very unique, different aspects of life and all the different experiences. But what does success mean to Heather Grondin?
Oh my goodness. Let's see. Success means to me, really ultimately achieving a goal that I've set for myself and doing it while maintaining who I am. Prioritizing kindness, prioritizing dedication, prioritizing my work ethic as I go, and really not compromising on those values that mean the most to me.
Yeah, I can get behind that. That's a good one. I think there's a lot of people that can chase success, and they don't care how they do it.
Yeah.
But doing it in the right way and making sure you stay true to yourself is definitely, I'm fully on board with that.
right,
That's
good.
amazing.
That was a good question.
Well, thank you very much for your time today.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the conversation. I'm sure we're going to have more as everything goes up. I know that the trucking companies at the Windsor Transportation Club are eagerly awaiting what the dollar number is going to be for the trucks to cross. But that will come in time. I'm sure when you're ready to let us know, you'll let us know.
Yep.
But thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks. As always, guys, you can find us on all the platforms that you listen to your podcast on, whether it's Spotify, YouTube, Apple. You can let us know. That's another episode of Cracking the Success Vault. Thanks for the time.